We really love seeing all of the creativity that people pour into their tiny homes. And over the years, we've seen some incredible small space design ideas that really take tiny houses to the next level. In this episode, we want to look back at some of our absolute favorite tiny house features. It never ceases to amaze me what extraordinary features some people have built into their homes. In Palmerston North, Jono took night classes in welding to build his dream Skysphere, which is home to one of my all-time favorite tiny house features.
All the lights are controlled off my phone. The beer dispenser is controlled off my phone. It's all voice controlled.
What, beer dispenser?
Yeah. So in the arm of the couch is a fridge, but it also has a actuator that grabs your beer and serves it right to your hand. You can either just press serve or you can go, beer please.
Coming right up.
That is the coolest thing ever. And there it is. Beer's popped right up.
Yeah. Should be cold.
Perfect. What a neat idea. And for those of you who are worried about the zombie apocalypse,
zombie mode.
Doors are closing. Good luck.
one thing that I never expected to find inside a tiny house was a genuine pizza oven. Yet in Ocala, Florida, that's exactly what Bob and Rebecca managed to fit into their home. Now, how on earth did you get a pizza oven inside a tiny house?
Well, basically, just put a pizza oven in a tiny house. You just have to make sure that it's insulated properly, because you know what would happen if you had 800 degrees in your fireplace in a little house like this. So it's well insulated, and then, of course, this door, as long as the door is on, it's cool. You can't feel any heat over here. But then when you take the door off, this has been insulated with ceramic cloth.
Right.
And this has several layers of ceramic cloth. You can literally hold a torch to it, and it doesn't get hot.
Wow.
So, and then it's all brick oven inside. And it was all handmade. There's no kit. It was just done one little brick at a time.
And the door handle is an absolute work of art in its own right, isn't it?
It's actually, I had a rosemary bush that I really loved. It was very big, and I had to leave it behind where we moved. So we took some pieces off of it, and we made a handle out of it, fashioned it out of the rosemary wood. So it's pretty special to me.
Animal lovers out there are sure to appreciate this next ingenious feature. When Matt and Lisa moved their stunning tiny house to the Aussie bush, they found a brilliant way of keeping their furry friends safe. Now, before we go inside, I want to talk about the contraption at the back of the house, which I noticed walking down. What on earth is that?
That is my custom designed cat run. It seemed simple when I first began doing it, but definitely had to lean on my mates to give me a hand with it. Basically, I've got these two cats and they're my children, and I didn't want anything to happen to them moving to the bush, or I didn't want dead birds on my bed. And also I didn't want the kitty litter inside because it's too small. So yeah, it works well. They love it, actually.
What a great idea. That is very clever. And now this over here, is that your cat door?
It certainly is. The little suckers come up a chute out through the side of the couch and then out this door just here. And then 2 in the morning when they go in and out, flat out, it's pretty entertaining.
That is such a clever idea. We've seen some really clever off-the-grid homes over the years, but Phil's place in British Columbia really took things to the next level.
So I got 3 panels here, a battery bank. I got a bicycle generator behind you. So sometimes, you know, a little workout, I get on here, and there's a permanent magnet alternator on there on the back. So I just get a little workout out of it and charge my batteries. And if it gets too hot, I can turn a little fan on here. Oh yeah.
That is such a brilliant idea. What a neat way of powering your tiny house and getting really fit while you're at it.
Yeah, I experimented with a water wheel back there with like rainwater, and then same thing, harvesting motion energy in with a permanent magnet alternator.
I love how creative you've got with powering this house. That's so unique.
Thank you.
If you're a movie lover, then making sure you've got a great place to watch TV is essential. In Wellington, Erin and Jake managed to fit a dedicated cinema room into their tiny house. Oh, this is a very unusual design.
It was important to us that we had a separate space for our ridiculously big TV, which was definitely a necessity because we get really into movies because Jake's in the film industry. But we knew we didn't want to be lying in bed and watching TV, so it was important to us that we had 2 separate loft spaces. So we've got the bed in one of them, and then we've got a TV watching area in the other one. So this is our TV loft, and this is what we have jokingly dubbed the theatre because we've got a whole big screen covering one wall, and then we've made a cozy little space with a whole lot of cushions, and we also put the skylight into the space because we knew it would feel quite small, so we put that in and it brings in a lot of natural light and space.
That could easily be the biggest television that I've ever seen in a tiny house. What size is that?
Yeah, it's a little bit ridiculous. We actually had it before we had the house, so we built the room around it somewhat. But yeah, it's a 55-inch.
Good work. This really has created a wonderful entertainment space for you both, hasn't it?
Yeah, we do probably spend a lot of time up here, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it also can double as a guest bedroom, which we've had a few people sleeping in here before, and that works really well.
And if you'd like to be a wee bit more subtle with your television, this pop-up TV idea in Cam and Amanda's tiny house is a sure winner. And then this here is where the television raises up, isn't it?
Yeah, so again, that was all Cam's idea, engineering it. So the TV's on a hydraulic arm and the lid's designed so that it doesn't sort of hit the TV. It's just got little rollers and it just gently pushes the lid back and the TV just rises out on its own.
That really is such a good idea though, because a TV is one of those things that it's really nice to have it inside the home, but it's not something that you want to have to look at all the time, is it?
Yeah, that was because the TV's sort of on the larger side. We really love the beautiful line of the ceiling and we didn't want it to be permanently in a corner and sort of be a focal point. Like when people came over to visit, we didn't want it to be the centre of attention because there's so many other beautiful features to look at. So it's really nice to just be able to take it away and just pull it out when we want it.
Of all the tiny homes we've featured on the show, the transforming castle truck in New Zealand still holds space as one of the most ingenious designs. From its raising roof and expanding footprint to its rooftop bathtub, Yola and Justin have packed their home with some truly brilliant ideas. This home even has a built-in solar food dehydrator in the roof. What's this contraption up here then?
This is our food drying compartment. We've got like solar panels on each side which heat up from the sun, the air. Yeah. And let's see if we can lower it actually. This is also quite new. So we're looking forward to the season's fruit harvest and drying and bagging lots of fruit because we really quite like dried fruit.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense. There's so much heat generated in a roof.
Sure.
And it usually gets vented out nowhere, so we might as well channel it into like a one spot, dry some fruit up and then let it go. Be nice if we had something in there now.
Over in Australia, the castle truck inspired Garima and Nirvana to also work out an ultra clever way of increasing the floor size of their stunning handcrafted tiny house on wheels.
Well, I have to say, when we were first looking and thinking about building a tiny house, one of our very first inspirations was the tiny house castle. And Nirvana particularly, who also has an engineering background, was like, wow, I like what this guy's doing. We can really think about this. And we'd seen a lot of tiny houses with a big entrance and a bit of a deck. And then somewhere in our brains, we worked out that, you know, we could have a fold down floor and a lift up roof. And then all these panels at the front are literally just sliding panels and all just held in there by screws.
So when we eventually moved the house, these side doors are hinged and they come in. So these are entire doors. I knew it would need to be towed by a 5-ton flatbed truck. So that means all the panels, the modular panels that I've introduced in this design, will be stored on a flatbedded truck. So that back wall is one unit, the roof is another unit, and these exterior walls on the front are one unit. In the front, the floor is on a steel frame that is hinged and it's pulled up with this winching device here because it's far too heavy for even 3 people to lift. And there's a strap that goes all the way through to this roller and down to the front edge. So the floor comes up and locks into place with bolts, and then the roof comes down, and the roof is actually on air struts on the outside. And this was the gorgeous work of the trailer constructors, and they would come up with these ideas. So it was gorgeous working with them because they were just as creative as I was. And I often just had to say, yeah, that's a fantastic idea. We've got to go with that. Yeah.
That is very clever.
Yes.
For some, the idea of a sleeping loft may feel a little bit constricting, as the height restrictions in tiny houses often mean there isn't a lot of headroom in the lofts. Over in Byron Bay, Ben and Nat have come up with a great solution to this problem. And one of the really unique features about this house as well is this really interesting wedge that you've got on the top there. Can you talk to me about how that works?
Yeah, sure. That was a labour of love. The whole idea of that is to give us standing headroom in our loft, which we sort of considered quite important for our long-term livability in the house. Yeah, so it's road legal height with the roof level, and then it pops up for once the house is in position. It's not really easy to put in. It's a bit heavy, it's a bit cumbersome. We can do it with 2, but 3 people is much easier. So the first thing we do is we lift the roof up. The big windows go up first and they sit up on the roof, and then the 2 wedges go in one at a time, one on each side. And then we stand up the front 2 windows and put it against the 2 wedges. We then put the roof down and put the screws in that hold it all together and screw it down to the frame and up to the roof as well. And then we've got a series of cover plates that go over the top of the screw holes on the inside to sort of make it look a bit pretty on the inside.
This is really cool. Having this wedge, it's amazing how much space it's added to the loft, isn't it?
Yeah, being able to stand up here really was the whole reason we did this, basically, was to be able to stand here at the foot of the bed. So it's very convenient. It's worth all the trouble of what it takes to put these things up here for sure.
In case you're looking for ways to add even more living space to a tiny house, over in Sandy Valley, Nevada, Rob has fitted his tiny house with an incredible rooftop deck to take full advantage of the spectacular desert views. This tiny house is completely unique, isn't it?
It's a bit different, yes.
This is actually the first one that I've ever seen with the rooftop balcony.
I wanted to make it a little bit different. I've seen them on other tiny homes, but I wanted to make it a little bit more friendly, a little bit more accessible. So therefore the stairs going up the side.
I reckon first of all, I have to take a look upstairs. Can we go?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yes, after you.
And look at the view that you've got here as well.
Yeah, it's amazing just because the mesquite trees are only about 15 feet high. And just getting up above the mesquite trees, you can see the whole valley all the way across, all the mountains. So just having that little bit of elevation makes a big difference here.
What a spectacular place just to have a seat, relax. Yeah. And you can watch the entire world go by from up here, can't you?
It was really my wife that inspired it. She wanted some place to sit and have a glass of wine and look at the stars at night.
Now, we all enjoy a bath, and even though it's possible, tiny homes aren't always the easiest spaces to fit a full-sized bathtub. So we love Willem and Kate's idea of fitting their bathtub under the deck of their tiny home on their spectacular Waiheke Island property.
We decided to put an outdoor bath in as well. So.
Yeah. One thing we wanted in the house that we couldn't fit, so if you can't fit it inside, put it outside.
Yeah.
Well, especially in this lovely bush setting.
Yeah.
It's really nice, especially when you sit in it at night and you know the sun goes down, the western sun actually settles down from that side, so you get a bit of sun coming over, and then once it's down, it's just so nice seeing some of the reflection off the trees, so we love it.
I'm sure all the musicians out there have dreamed of having their own studio. But what about a traveling studio on wheels that also doubles as an epic music performance space? Ash's incredible tiny home in Arkansas will be the envy of many musicians.
So this here is the amp.
I absolutely love this. There's no hiding what this building is all about, is there?
No, although I think if you're not a musician, you're like, what is this thing? But musicians get it. They're like, whoa, it's an amp, you know?
Does this actually work?
So it does. So these are marine speakers, which means that they can get wet, and so the sound comes out of those 4 speakers.
That's so cool. So you can actually pull this up somewhere, lift the garage door, play the violin, and put on a real concert here, can't you?
Hell yeah! So when I was first designing the tiny house, I really wanted a large porch because the idea was that I could have concerts on the porch and sort of bring the community together. And A lot of people were saying you should have the porch in the back for privacy. And I absolutely did not want that. The whole idea of the porch was to sort of bring people together and, you know, have people come up and like wave. And so that's what it's really done. It really has served a huge purpose by, number one, being able to have concerts there. And number two, just making it sort of welcoming, where people want to stop by and say hi. In here, if you look really closely, this is recycled denim in there, so it's soundproof. And then I still have the garage door, so when I want, I can just open that up and have more light, storage, closet space here and here. All my instruments, yeah.
Super cool. It's important that you can relax in a home, and who doesn't enjoy chilling out in a hammock? Over in Portland, Whit and Cody found a clever way of turning their whole loft into a giant hammock with an epic loft net. Wow. This is seriously cool. Especially having the skylight there, it just completely makes this feel like a luxury space, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's really cool, and I'm glad you guys came on a rainy day because it's pretty neat to get to lay underneath the skylights under the rain.
So when you were designing this space, what were the elements that you absolutely had to have in here?
I think the biggest and maybe the only thing that we absolutely had to have was the net, and trying to figure out how to lay out the space and how to create the openings and how that was all going to be attached and secured and a nice big open space.
Yeah, one of the fun things to figure out was how people at our height would walk up the stairs without hitting their head in the net. So we had to get this exact cutout, and the angles you can see go, you know, climb up from the loft and then climb down on the other side because one loft is slightly higher than the other. So this isn't just a rectangle net with two rectangle holes in it. It is designed specifically for this space.
How many do you think this could actually hold?
I think safely it could easily hold up to 4 people. I'm sure it could hold more, but I wouldn't want to push it more than that.
Spoken like a true engineer.
Yeah.
I think it could hold like 12.
Building a loft is one thing. How you access it, though, is another entirely. In Taupo, Ollie and Holly added a super cool rock climbing wall to get into their loft. And I really love what you've done here with this climbing wall. This is such a clever way of getting into the loft.
Yeah, it's cool, eh? So it was just that we didn't really know where a ladder could go, and we didn't want to cut off any of that opening. So instead, Ollie decided on a climbing wall. I was pretty against it at the start. But
You love it now,
no,
eh?
I really like it.
Yeah.
If we watch movies and we have cups of tea and stuff, we do have to pass it up, because it's quite hard to climb up with a cup of tea. But yeah, so
it's good, and you get very quick at it too, eh? So,
yeah.
Can I have a go?
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right.
Get in there.
Yeah.
All right, everyone in the world can watch me fumble trying to get up this thing. Although maybe I'm almost tall enough just to... I've maybe got an advantage here, eh?
You can just step up.
Oh, now that is cool.
Yeah.
That is a seriously cool way of getting into a loft. It's amazing how lighting can really transform a home. In Brisbane, Colin and Megan's incredible tiny house can be entirely switched up with excellent use of smart lighting. And then I noticed that throughout the home, and especially here in the stairs, you've built in these really nice feature lights.
Yeah, so a lot of the lighting within the house is smart controlled, so smart lights controlled by Siri or whatever. We've also focused a little bit on having different moods. So for example, you could put the bright lights and make it very light, or the lights under the bench and in the steps are colour ones, you can change them. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
If you love plants as much as I do, then no doubt you're always looking for ways to bring more green into your home. In Auckland, New Zealand, Shay has created an amazing plant feature in her home with a living roof and stunning green wall. The green roof is seriously cool. Can you tell me about that?
Thank you. Yeah, so I felt like, I'm obsessed with plants. I love plants. And I felt like I really wanted the tiny house to respect the landscape and blend in nicely. And so part of that was having a lot of plants in the landscaping of the tiny house, but also having the living roof on the porch, I felt would just help it blend in. And I've always loved living roofs. It was kind of like my dream home would always have a living roof. So I thought, well, this is my dream home, I'm going to do it. And the idea is that as the years go by, the plants will just sort of drip from the sides of the roof and just hang down, sort of creating almost a bit more privacy and that feeling like it's sort of been taken over by the landscape. I really like that. So.
Oh, this is incredible. Look at that green wall.
Thank you.
I'm such a fan of plants inside the house, and that just creates such a stunning feature in the home, doesn't it?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love it. It's kind of like that wall was always going to be for an artwork of some sort, and I thought, well, what better artwork than what nature has provided us with? So that's why it became my plant wall.
There's nothing like living art, is there?
Yeah.
I really do feel like I've got one of the coolest jobs in the whole world. It's so inspiring getting to see all of these incredible ideas that people put into their homes, and it makes me so excited for all of the future ideas that we've yet to uncover.